Hello, everyone. I'm Riva, and in this video, we're going to talk about how you can use rejection while networking to actually thrive. So, in the last video, we talked about how you can handle if someone were to walk away from you at a networking event, or you go up to a group and people just disband, and kind of how to recover from that. But I realized that when I was listening back to that video myself, there was something that I noticed I didn't focus on quite as much as I would like to have, that's very valuable and important for you in your own growth, for self-development, for networking, for all of the things. And I recognize that I started to suggest that you should get used to or comfortable with rejection, or people maybe walking away and not letting it bother you. But I also caught that that could be misinterpreted, because when I say try not get comfortable with people walking away or feeling uncomfortable and all those things, it kind of sounds like maybe I'm giving you the idea that you need to grow a thicker skin. And I did not mean that at all. That is not my intention with my explanation or suggestions for how to handle that kind of rejection. And, I let's just preface this all with, rejection sucks. I get it. If you're an adult, you think you're beyond all of the drama of social cliques and things, and you shouldn't have to worry about going up to other adults and having a conversation, because they're always going to respond to you. Not everyone's going to be your people. There's going to be people who aren't interested in what you have to say, or they have an agenda for who they want to talk to, and that's okay. But what we want to focus is on you and your reaction to what just happened, because I love to get people to go into networking to get all sorts of resources, experience, connections, and relationships that develop, and all sorts of things you can nurture that can lead to really incredible outcomes down the line. Sometimes you don't know what things are going to turn into, and that's okay, but you just open yourself up to these amazing experiences. And I would hate for people to go into these experiences, have that negative experience, and then never want to do it again, or go, well, this is why I don't do networking, or something like that. And like, people who network aren't authentic. And the truth is, not everyone you interact with is going to come from a heart-centered place. I have a very unique approach to networking. It's not the general public approach. And it's something I'm hoping will start to get out there, and I'll be able to kind of spread amongst the others who will go into networking and get more of you into networking. And I want you guys to understand that doesn't matter what other people are coming to the table with. It's all about you. It's all about how do you show up, whether or not you get meaningful connections and experiences out of a networking event. It's not the responsibility of everyone else in the room. It's the responsibility of you, how you engage with people, how you react to people's reactions of you, and how you kind of are able to walk away at the end of the day, and what you take away from your conversations. If you focus only on the negative, and you focus on, this person walked away from me, this person didn't want to give me their business card, or they didn't want to take my card, or they weren't really paying attention to what I was saying, then you won't have that great of an experience. But if you open yourself up to the experiences that are there, and maybe a handful of them actually were very intrigued with you, you bring your attention and focus to the ones that were positive experiences, it's going to help you have a better outcome. It's going to give you that reinforcement to want to do it again. But more than any of that, there are so many deeper underlying principles that come along with rejection and your own reaction and response to that rejection. So, for instance, when I tell people, don't let this bother you, keep going, talk to more people after that rejection, and continue to get comfortable, I want you to remember to not completely disregard your feelings when you had the rejection. I do want you to acknowledge in the moment how it sucks, how you feel upset, maybe you feel hurt, maybe you feel scared or worried and judged and hypercritical of yourself. And that's okay. It's not to say we have to stop doing all those things all at once. We're human. It's a lot of work to let go of all of those things. But what this all comes down to is really it's homework after the event. The way you turn rejection from networking into your superpower or a way to thrive is by taking all of that feedback, that information, and by feedback and information, I am not talking about what the other people say to you, not even talking about anything about their actions towards you. I am purely talking about how you internalize those interactions, those words, those responses, and that feedback. None of what they say really matters when it comes to improving and developing through rejection. What matters is how you emotionally and mentally experienced it. And that is where the key lies to healing all of those wounds of being upset with rejection and feeling vulnerable and feeling worried and having all those things become barriers that stop you from doing these kinds of experiences and events in the future. So when I talk about my own experiences with rejection and I see, okay, in one of the last events I'd gone to, I walked up to a group of people and all of the people disbanded after I stood there for a little while trying to listen in, but no one really interacted with me. Felt really awkward, felt really weird, kind of annoyed. But in the moments afterwards, those were the key moments, and really even the time frame after the event where I was able to overcome that so that in future events, it doesn't even bother me as much. What I would do is I would acknowledge every single thing I'm feeling in the moment of. So if I'm feeling like frustrated, I'm feeling like I'm annoyed, I'm feeling a little bit like hypercritical because I'm like, did people see this happen publicly? Are they judging me too? And I remind myself the most important thing, it doesn't matter what anyone else is thinking, it matters how I'm feeling. And I'm feeling judged and I'm feeling critical and I feel a little bit bad. And that's just in the moment. It's just literally identifying them instead of letting the overwhelm of all of those feelings meshing into like a storm of energy and emotion that clouds my mind and then forces me to maybe retract and maybe kind of step back from going into another group and talking. I identified all of the feelings that I was feeling, because if you don't, then it can turn into that storm of chaos where you don't feel like talking to anyone right after that. You feel like you want to stop, you want to maybe leave, you want to sit down at a table away from everyone and go get another drink or something, and just like, I don't know, didn't feel good. But when we analyze more scientifically and try to identify what are all of the emotions I'm feeling right now, it gives our mind something to do instead of just turn into a storm. It allows us to kind of finally needle out the little threads of emotions and realize, okay, this isn't actually that bad. These are just feelings that I'm feeling. And now that I understand, okay, this is what I'm feeling, keep that in the back of your mind. Keep going through the networking process of engaging more groups of people, but just sit with, this actually does suck. I don't like feeling rejection. Like, acknowledge the crappy feelings. It's not about ignoring them. It's not about bypassing them. It's not about kind of growing that thicker skin and whatever things and feelings you have, you suppress them. And in the moment, you kind of just like shut them down. Would never tell anyone to stop. Like, if you feel sad or anxious in the moment, I'm not telling you to ignore those feelings in your body. I'm not telling you to shove it all down and keep talking because you need to be better at this. I'm telling you to study the hell out of yourself, because you have the answers to all of your problems. You have the answers to how you can thrive inside of you. But it's not until you take the time and energy and patience with yourself that you identify these. And it sounds silly. It sounds you're like, well, listen to your emotions. Like, yeah, listen to your emotions. Now here's a homework assignment. In the moment, while acknowledging these crappy feelings, yes, take the moment to feel them and then keep going. Don't hyper focus on them. Don't suppress them. Acknowledge them and then continue to engage with more people. Kind of let that moment go in time, not suppress. You feel all the feelings. You set that moment aside. You go, okay, this is real. This is how I've been feeling. Now I'm going to go engage with more people, but I don't have to keep holding when it's a bit of a mindfulness practice. People talk about meditation. Meditation can exist in a networking environment. Meditation can exist walking down the road. Meditation is about bringing yourself to the present moment, regardless of what other circumstances are happening around you. It's a living practice. It's not something that you could only have to do sitting on a meditation pillow on the ground in your quiet space. It's about being able to not be so fearful of the future and hyper focused on the future rejections and things that could go wrong that they stop you from going forward, and not letting everything in the past, even if it just happened, hold you back from your next big adventure. And so when you can be present and have felt the feelings, if you don't feel the feelings, it's going to linger in your mind. It's going to kind of flavor the tone of your voice, flavor the tone of your interactions, engagements for the rest of the evening and your future events. And you may not notice it at the immediate time that it happens, but it's cumulative. These weigh on you. So when you start to actually identify, oh, okay, because it'll add to the resistance why you don't want to go to the next networking event, because that's going to linger and it's going to be those feelings you didn't address when it first happened. So you feel the feelings, but then comes the homework assignment. So you do your networking event and everything, you go home that night. I want you that evening, here's where all the magic really happens. Why did it bother you? In the moment, it takes a little bit longer, okay. When you get comfortable with this, for instance, like when I'm doing this, I usually will start to pick up real quick on the homework assignment, really like right after this happens, when I'm feeling the feelings, and you will do that too. But in the beginning, I like to separate it out for people because it's easier than asking someone to like go process and do like a therapy session with themselves in the middle of a networking event. I'm not recommending to do that right now. But when you're home, make a list, even write it down. If you're really serious about this and you want to get this crap figured out and you're like, I'm sick and tired of letting these things like inhibit me from growing and expanding, write it down. It doesn't have to be like a pretty journal, just on a sheet of paper. You can throw it away afterwards, but like write down what you felt that evening when you had those rejections. Write down when you felt sad or frustrated or like you weren't good enough. All of those beliefs and feelings and the things when someone wasn't totally paying attention to you maybe, and they were half looking out of the corner of their eye at the person they really wanted to talk to, even though they asked you about yourself and you shared, how did that make you feel? Did it make you feel like you weren't important or you weren't valuable, or like what you had to say wasn't as good as something else, that you were lower in the rankings of the room? Everything negative, I want you to write it down, or at least sort through it in your mind and start to go through these things one by one and understand why those feelings even came up. Because the truth is, every rejection is a gift. Every time you feel triggered or upset or have a strong emotional reaction, it's a gift. It really is. And I'm not just saying that nonchalantly. It's a gift because it's educating you about some deep inner belief you have you would not otherwise know. And that belief is not just something that came up in the moment that kind of sucked and felt bad. That belief is stopping you from so much more that you wish to achieve and accomplish. That's the incredible gift that you get with whatever feelings you have when you experience rejection. When you can tell, I felt like when that person I felt very angry when that person wasn't hearing me, or they were kind of not paying attention to me when I was talking. And often there's a multitude of reasons that that's coming up for you. You may have deep-seated feelings of, like, I'm not being heard. And this might be a pattern that you've had in your career or over the course of your life, of within your own relationships, within interactions with coworkers and colleagues or bosses or managers. You haven't felt heard. You don't feel like you're being seen. And what these are all feelings that existed before the event ever happened. All the event that triggered you in the networking place that came up, all that that was doing was bringing to your awareness, this feeling existed in you probably for years before you even walked into this room. It's just you saw it surface from that engagement, that gift. And so now you can do something about it. Because when you don't know it's there, when you don't realize you have a belief or fear that people don't see you, you have these beliefs that you're not being heard, or that's a pattern you've been experiencing, but you didn't really recognize it. Those deep-seated beliefs are in your subconscious mind. They are what is running this show. There's tons of people out there talking about how important the subconscious mind is to address, because it's like 90% of your life or 95% of your life is run by the subconscious mind and subconscious programs of how to be, how to act, how to do things that were programmed very early life and within like the first 7 years of life. And so those are the things that dictate your potential, how great you can be, how many really great contacts you can make, who the best, interactions and engagements and networks and connections you can make in that event, and the expanse that your company can reach, the impact your mission can have on people. All of that is dictated by your subconscious mind, unless you become a miraculous person who's always present, which is extremely hard for every single human being on the planet. And the goal is not to always be 100% present every single second of the day. I think that's just setting people up for failure. So why don't we use the subconscious to educate and inform us through recognizing our emotions, our triggers, our reactions, and then make the conscious decision to let those beliefs go. Once you understand that they're there, then you can let them go. And then you can change your belief system at a conscious and subconscious level so that in the future, you won't have that strong resistance to go network. You won't have as many of those interactions with people who don't really respect you or aren't treating your information the way you wish to be treated and all those things. The thing is, so, our subconscious is constantly doing things to bring our conscious awareness to how we really are deep down in our subconscious minds. And it does this by engaging with people and triggering us to talk a certain way, pick out certain people, interactions, engagements, and knowingly. So I'll give you an example. It's kind of like, there's a person that's not going to be paying that close attention to you. There's many cues that you can actually already recognize before you ever interact with a person that they're not going to really give a crap what you have to say. But if you're not connected with your intuition, if you don't have like a deep, very strong connection with your own heart and with your own understanding of yourself, you will miss those cues. And that's okay. What the subconscious mind does is it's covering you. It's recognizing those cues for you and going, yeah, that person's not going to give a crap about us. But this person doesn't consciously get that we have this deep-seated emotional issue that we have never addressed or recognized. So if we go talk to this person, there's a chance that it might slap them in the face and actually help them understand that that problem is there. So I see this as the subconscious mind trying to help us to learn about ourselves. And then in the future, your subconscious, once you learn the lesson, once you learn the emotion that's there, that belief that's there, and because your subconscious is working with you, you consciously tell yourself, I want to be successful. I want to thrive. I want to have a really amazing business, make an impact that's on the entire planet or the whole, country or whatever. Your conscious mind is saying that. So you're telling your subconscious mind, hey, like, this is our mission. This is our goal. The subconscious mind then goes, oh, okay, well, let me help you get there. And so you'll often find, so like when you're not really trying to do anything in life, your life kind of goes along. Everything's about the same patterns, same kinds of experiences. Typically, either people treat you a certain way or not. And then your life is pretty like vanilla. When you start to make these big intentions to change your career, open a business, become an entrepreneur, expand into bigger things than you've ever fathomed, you might not suddenly notice that's when every piece of resistance in the planet comes out to try to like what seems like stop you from succeeding. It's like people don't want to talk to you. You're trying to get a hold of recruiters or get your application in someone's hand, and no one wants to even look at it or tell you no, even they don't even care. You want to get funding, investors aren't even giving you the time of day. Like, or like constant problems keep coming up. The reason you are finding these issues, these situations that aren't so great, is your subconscious mind is trying to help draw you to problems that are preventing you from being the successful person you wish to be. That's all it is. It's not the world is out to get you or no one wants you to be successful. Like the whole universe is like co-inspiring to like conspiring to like get you to be successful, but it's gotta be sneaky to get you to realize what the real issue is so that you'll see it finally and then go, oh, that's what I've been doing this whole time. I've been putting a roadblock up for myself every single day this entire time, and that's why I haven't gotten past this one hurdle. So yes, when you want to move into expansive spaces, you're gonna meet resistance. That's gonna happen. And it could come in the form of rejection at networking events. So when you are seeing these kinds of experiences, and at the end of the day, you're doing your homework, you're looking at, why do I feel this shitty when this thing happens to me? Why do I feel like I'm not able to keep talking to people comfortably because of one person ignoring me? And so with the example of, someone's kind of looking out of the corner of their eye, not paying attention to your answer, it could be that when you were younger, your parents did that. It could be that, maybe your teachers did that. They weren't really paying attention to you. Now, is it because you're not valuable? No, no, it's not because you're not valuable. It's probably because the teacher had like 30 other kids they were watching and they were like, and trying to make sure one of them didn't fall off a table. And then they were sort of paying attention to you, but it wasn't that your story wasn't important. It was really that like some brilliant child was trying to jump off of their table and they were trying to stop them. And like with your parents, as an adult or maybe a parent yourself now, you probably can understand parents have a million things going, adults have a million things going through their minds, right? Like it's not that they don't care about their children. It's just that there could be a deadline at work, or maybe there's a health thing going on with someone in the family, or there's like a million different things or fires they're trying to put out. And maybe they are half listening to their kid. And yes, I would love it if, everyone gets the full attention, but you're an adult now. And if you cling to those things, and it's not conscious. So remember, it's not like you might have a great relationship with your family, but what happened when you were younger kind of embedded in you and your subconscious, the part of you you don't see or recognize at all. Like it feels like it's not a part of you. You might go, but like I'm great with my parents. Like we get along. They always feel like they listen to me. But if as a child in that young, very influential stage when you were being programmed, not in a bad way, it's just that's how our brains develop. That's how we work. We learn societal cues from our families and from society, from the engagements we have with people. And we use that to kind of create a paradigm for how we experience life and how we know this is right, this is wrong, you should behave this way, you shouldn't behave this way. And it kind of creates our life experience. But if early on you learned, my parents weren't paying attention to me, I'm not valued, I am not important enough to get their attention, you may have carried that fear and that belief on with you. And maybe it's actually something that's happening in adulthood with your family or people that you know. And so if you recognize, okay, and you don't always have to know where it came from. It's helpful. I admit it's helpful, but it's not necessary because maybe you don't remember what made you feel that way the first time ever. And so the best next thing you can do is look at, okay, this is how I'm feeling. I feel frustrated. I feel like I'm not being heard. And maybe that's as far as you get. You just know that that's how you're feeling. You can at least acknowledge that there's a story in your mind that is telling you, I am not heard. I am not valued. You can hear that belief, because if you didn't hold the belief, then the fact that someone was half paying attention to you would not bother you. That's the trigger. The trigger is someone wasn't listening to me completely, or someone walked away from me before I could finish sharing, or before I shared it all. I am hurt. Why am I hurt? Why does it make me feel sad? Why does it make me feel that sinking feeling? It's embarrassment. It's not being heard. It's all like I'm feeling, because in your mind, even if you tell yourself the story, I'm embarrassed because other people saw people just walk away from me. Well, there's a story there. There is a story that other people don't believe that I'm valuable enough to listen to. There is a story that there's something wrong with me, and people are seeing that there's something wrong with me. If you didn't have a subconscious belief that people thought there was something wrong with you, what it is, you may not know. You just believe there's something terribly wrong with you. And so people are going to think hypercritically of you because of that belief. That belief doesn't exist in everybody else's brain. That belief only is existing in your personal brain. The people in the room couldn't care less if you got ignored by the other group or not. Some, kind-hearted soul probably be sympathetic and feel a little bit bad for you. But like, it doesn't, they aren't thinking those things. Those people in the room, they're not thinking, oh my God, like how terrible. She must be like a leper. That's probably bad. I don't remember. That's a thing that people used to say when I was a kid. So I don't have anything against lepers, but like whatever is a okay way to say that. I'll work on it. But there's something like no one has the belief that there's something actually wrong with you. They just see people walked away from another human being. If they saw it at all, because most of the time they aren't paying attention to you. They really aren't. Like, we're very narcissistic as human beings. We think that people care way more about what we're doing than they actually care. Like, they don't care. They have so many other things they're worried about. They're hypercritical about their own interactions and engagements. This is like the lowest thing on the list that, of things that people care about. And so it's really about, why do you think that? Can you recognize the beliefs that are behind the emotions for why you feel bad, sad, frustrated, all of the things? And understand that the only reason you feel that way is because you believe the negative things about yourself. If you didn't believe, like when someone, I'm trying to think of like an example of like a time where if someone walked away from you, you really just wouldn't care that much. I mean, maybe like if you go to a park and there's a bunch of little kids there that are just like toddlers and they're doing their own thing, you walk up to the group of toddlers because you want to engage with them, and maybe they all walk away. And does that typically bother most people as much as if they go to a networking event as an adult and other human adults see them wanting to engage with them and then walk away? The two are very similar actual experiences, but the feelings that come up are very different. When you go up to a group of toddlers and they walk away, you're like, oh, that's cute. They're just, they don't know what they're doing. They're just like toddlers. And like, when you do with adults, you're like, you have this deep, like, oh my God, like, what's wrong with me? Like, this is terrible. These people don't even want to engage with me. It's because you have negative beliefs about yourself, and that like you don't have a belief that toddlers hate you, but you might have a belief that adults who are professionals, who maybe are higher ranking in your mind, don't value you or don't want to have anything to do with you. And that hurts you because it's a belief. The hurt is to bring to your awareness that there's a deep-seated belief there. The toddlers, they walk away. You're like, hey, they're toddlers. They walked away. Like, it's not going to hurt my feelings. But you don't have a belief that toddlers hate you. Like, that's the thing. There's context behind the emotion. You have to find the context and for why, and understand that the reason there's a strong triggering emotion, it's because there is value and a gift there for you to see, to recognize, to let go. Now, there are many ways that I've worked with lots of people to like understand how to, you're like, well, how do I let it go and replace it with a different belief? There's lots of ways. There are some very simple ways. I'll tell you that, I'll talk to you about in a totally different episode, because like, or whatever this is on YouTube, because like, there's a lot of techniques to reprogram your subconscious mind. Sometimes the simplest thing is, and it's not a guarantee for everyone, but sometimes it's literally just witnessing it and recognizing and going, oh my gosh, I don't believe that I deserve respect. I don't believe that people want to hear me. And when you can tell it to yourself out loud, say like, I believe that people don't value me. That's silly. Like, I'm going to let that go. Like, sometimes just acknowledging it consciously and letting it go consciously is enough. Now, there's other techniques, things like EFT tapping, and I'll actually do some. I used to feel a little silly doing that stuff on videos, but I'll do some EFT tapping for you guys to just walk you through like how you can use this to reprogram your subconscious mind. And there's all sorts of things with like affirmations, and a lot of that, there's a significant time frame or mindset state that you want to be in order to do that kind of work. There's things with yoga nidra and with intention and with sankalpas and things where you can use these practices to rewire your subconscious mind, or to kind of reaffirm a much more healthy kind of belief system about yourself, to allow yourself to thrive. So a lot of it is coming down to doing your homework and going, what are the beliefs that I have? And when you do this from event to event, and you start to recognize patterns and these stories that are running in the back of your mind that you can let go of, in the moment, you know, for example, the next moment you do this at a networking event and you get that rejection again, or someone's half paying attention to you, you can take that moment afterwards and then kind of feel your feelings, go like, I feel frustrated, I feel annoyed, whatever. And then go, right, but all of the reasons, I already rehashed this, the reasons I felt all that the first time was because of XYZ stories. And then you can start to let go of the stories and remember those were just stories. I don't have to keep doing this to myself. I'm actually valuable, and you'll start to feel less triggered. You'll know you've successfully rewired your subconscious mind, because you won't feel as triggered when these things happen to you in the future. And that's how you learn to thrive and become more powerful, from acknowledging these gifts that these triggers and these negative experiences and rejections have brought to you. So I think I will leave it at that for now. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.